Many people spend their lives believing that calmness is something you either have or you do not. They look at someone who remains composed during conflict, pressure, or uncertainty and assume that person was simply born with a peaceful personality. They tell themselves, "I could never be like that. I'm just an anxious person. I'm naturally emotional. I lose my temper easily." But this belief is one of the greatest obstacles to personal growth. Calmness is not a personality trait reserved for a fortunate few. It is a skill. Like every skill, it can be learned, strengthened, and mastered through consistent practice. Think about any great ability. No one is born knowing how to play a musical instrument, speak another language, or lift heavy weights. These abilities develop through repetition. The same principle applies to the mind. Every time you choose patience instead of panic, every time you breathe instead of reacting, every time you remain silent instead of arguing, you are training your mind. You are creating new habits that gradually become your natural response. The mind is incredibly adaptable. It learns from what you repeatedly do. If every stressful situation is met with worry, frustration, or anger, those reactions become automatic. But if you repeatedly practice awareness, self-control, and patience, your brain begins to recognize calmness as the new normal. This transformation does not happen overnight, but it happens without fail for those who remain consistent. Consider the bamboo tree. For years after it is planted, almost nothing appears above the ground. Someone who does not understand its nature might believe that nothing is happening. Yet beneath the surface, the roots are spreading deeper and stronger every single day. Then, when the foundation is ready, the bamboo grows rapidly. Your inner calm develops in the same way. The early days of practice may seem insignificant. You may still feel anxious. You may still become frustrated. But beneath the surface, your mental roots are growing stronger. One day, you will notice that situations which once overwhelmed you no longer disturb your peace. The greatest mistake people make is waiting until life becomes difficult before trying to become calm. They expect themselves to remain composed during a crisis, even though they have never trained their mind in moments of peace. A soldier does not begin training after the battle starts. An athlete does not prepare after the competition begins. Likewise, you cannot expect your mind to remain steady during life's storms if you have neglected it during ordinary days. Training the mind begins with small moments. It begins when you choose not to check your phone the instant boredom appears. It begins when someone criticizes you and you pause before speaking. It begins when traffic delays your plans and you refuse to let irritation control your mood. These ordinary situations are your daily training ground. Every inconvenience becomes an opportunity to strengthen your inner discipline. Many people search for peace by changing their surroundings. They believe a different job, a different relationship, or a different city will finally make them calm. But wherever they go, they bring the same untrained mind with them. The environment changes, yet their inner world remains restless. True peace is never found by escaping life. It is created by transforming the way you meet life. Imagine two people standing in the middle of the same storm. One panics, complains, and loses hope. The other remains steady, thinks clearly, and acts wisely. The storm is identical. The difference is not the situation, it is the condition of the mind. External events do not determine your peace. Your training does. This is why discipline is more valuable than motivation. Motivation comes and goes with emotions. Discipline continues even when you do not feel inspired. Some mornings you will not feel like sitting quietly with your thoughts. Some days you will not want to practice breathing exercises or mindfulness. Those are the moments that matter most. Every act of discipline strengthens your ability to remain calm when life becomes unpredictable. Do not judge your progress by whether you never feel stress again. Calm people still experience fear, disappointment, and uncertainty. The difference is that they no longer become servants of those emotions. They acknowledge what they feel without allowing those feelings to control their decisions. They create space between the emotion and the response. Within that space lies wisdom. Remember that every master was once a beginner. Every person who now radiates peace once struggled with impatience, worry, or anger. They simply refused to believe that their current state was permanent. They understood that the mind, like the body, becomes stronger through training. Day after day, choice after choice, they built the habits that eventually transformed their character. Your calmness will not be created by one inspiring speech, one meditation session, or one peaceful day. It will be built through hundreds of small decisions that no one else sees. It will be shaped by the moments when you choose awareness over impulse, patience over frustration, and understanding over fear. With enough repetition, what once required great effort will become effortless. Calmness will no longer be something you try to achieve. It will become part of who you are. And when that day arrives, you will realize that peace was never a gift waiting to be found. It was a skill waiting to be trained. Have you ever noticed that the hardest battles in your life often happen inside your own mind? Long before anything goes wrong, the mind begins creating stories. It imagines failure before the challenge has even begun. It predicts rejection before anyone has spoken. It assumes the worst outcome while there is still every possibility that things will work out. This is how suffering begins, not always through reality itself, but through the endless stream of thoughts that interpret reality. A difficult situation may last for a few hours, a few days, or a few weeks. But the mind has the ability to replay that same moment hundreds of times. One careless comment from another person can occupy your thoughts for years. A mistake made in the past can continue to steal your peace long after everyone else has forgotten it. The event has ended, but the suffering continues because the mind refuses to let it go. Imagine walking through a forest at dusk. In the distance, you see what appears to be a dangerous figure standing between the trees. Your heart races. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your muscles tense. Fear takes over your body. Yet as you move closer, you realize it is nothing more than a broken tree branch shaped by the fading light. The danger never existed. Your body suffered because your mind believed a story that was not true. This happens every day in ordinary life. Someone does not answer your message, and your mind immediately begins creating explanations. They are upset with me. I must have said something wrong. Maybe they no longer respect me. Hours later, you discover their phone battery had died, or they were simply busy. The situation itself was never painful. The suffering came from the story your mind invented. The mind has a powerful habit of filling empty spaces with fear. Whenever it lacks certainty, it often chooses the worst possible explanation. This is why uncertainty feels uncomfortable. Instead of accepting that we do not yet know what will happen, we rush to create imaginary futures, most of which never become reality. We exhaust ourselves fighting battles that exist only in our imagination. Think about how many problems you have worried about that never actually happened. How many sleepless nights have been spent preparing for disasters that never arrived? How many conversations have you rehearsed, only to discover they unfolded completely differently? The mind spends enormous energy trying to protect us, but without awareness it often becomes the very source of our suffering. This does not mean we should ignore real problems. Challenges exist, loss exists, pain exists. Life will test every one of us. But there is a profound difference between experiencing pain and multiplying it with endless mental resistance. Physical pain may be unavoidable. Mental suffering often grows because we continually replay the pain, resist it, judge it, or fear it. When something unpleasant happens, observe what your mind immediately begins to say. It rarely stops with the facts. Instead of saying, "I failed this attempt," it says, "I am a failure." Instead of saying, "This relationship ended," it says, "I will always be alone." Instead of saying, "Today was difficult," it says, "My entire life is falling apart." The mind turns temporary experiences into permanent identities. One of the greatest forms of wisdom is learning to separate facts from interpretations. Facts are simple. They describe what has actually happened. Interpretations are the stories we attach to those facts. A fact might be that someone criticized your work. The interpretation becomes, "I am not good enough." A fact might be that you lost an opportunity. The interpretation becomes, "Success is impossible for me." The suffering comes not from the fact, but from believing every interpretation without question. Notice how children recover quickly from disappointment. They cry, they feel their emotions completely, and then they return to playing. Adults often do the opposite. The event ends, but they continue carrying it in their thoughts for weeks, months, or even years. The burden becomes heavier with every repetition. Learning to observe your thoughts without immediately believing them changes everything. Thoughts are not commands, they are not predictions, they are not always truthful. They are simply mental events passing through your awareness. Just because your mind says something does not mean it reflects reality. When fear appears, ask yourself, is this happening now, or is my mind imagining what could happen? When anxiety rises, ask, what are the actual facts in this moment? These simple questions interrupt the cycle of unnecessary suffering. They bring your attention back to the present, where life is actually unfolding. The present moment is usually far more peaceful than the future your mind imagines or the past it keeps replaying. Right now, in this very breath, you may discover that you are safe. You may realize that your greatest struggle is not the world around you, but the conversation taking place within you. Freedom does not come from controlling every circumstance. It comes from recognizing that you do not have to believe every thought your mind produces. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When you learn to observe it instead of obeying it, you reclaim your peace. Slowly, the stories lose their power. The fears become quieter. The unnecessary suffering begins to dissolve. Reality will always present challenges, but your experience of those challenges depends largely on the condition of your mind. Train yourself to see clearly instead of reacting automatically. Return to the facts instead of feeding fearful stories. Over time, you will discover that many of the prisons you believed surrounded you were built only within your own thinking, and the key to freedom has been in your hands all along. There is one companion that has been with you from the moment you entered this world and will remain with you until your final moment. It asks for nothing, yet it gives you life every second. It never leaves you, never judges you, and never demands your attention. That companion is your breath. Yet despite its constant presence, most people barely notice it. They spend years searching for complicated methods to find peace, while ignoring the simplest and most powerful tool they already possess. Your breath is more than a biological function. It is the bridge between your body and your mind. Whenever your emotions change, your breathing changes with them. Notice what happens when you become angry. Your breath becomes fast and forceful. When you are afraid, it becomes short and shallow. During anxiety, you almost forget to breathe at all. But notice something equally important. This relationship works in both directions. Just as your emotions influence your breath also influences your emotions. This is why your breathing is one of the few things you can consciously control that immediately affects your mental state. You cannot always stop fearful thoughts from appearing, and you cannot instantly change difficult circumstances. But you can choose how you breathe in this very moment. That single choice begins to transform everything else. Imagine standing in the middle of a violent storm. The wind is loud, the rain is relentless, trees are bending in every direction. Now imagine that beneath the surface of the earth, the roots remain still. They are not fighting the storm, they simply stay grounded. Your breath is like those roots. It anchors you while everything around you is changing. Most people try to solve their emotional struggles by thinking harder. They analyze every problem, replay every conversation, and search endlessly for answers. Yet an agitated mind cannot think clearly. Trying to calm a restless mind with more restless thinking is like trying to smooth water by striking it with your hands. The more force you use, the more disturbed it becomes. Instead of fighting the mind, return your attention to the breath. Take one slow inhale. Feel the air entering your body. Pause for a brief moment, then release it gently, without rushing. As your breathing slows, your heartbeat begins to settle. Your muscles release unnecessary tension. Your nervous system receives a simple message: there is no immediate danger. The body begins to relax, and when the body relaxes, the mind often follows. This is why many of the world's oldest wisdom traditions have placed such importance on conscious breathing. They understood something modern life often forgets. Before you can master your actions, you must first master your internal state. And one of the quickest paths to that state is through the breath. Consider how often you lose awareness of your breathing throughout the day. You rush from one task to another. Your attention jumps from your phone to your work, from your worries to your responsibilities. Hours pass without a single conscious breath. Gradually, this constant state of distraction becomes your normal way of living. Your body remains tense even when no real threat exists. The practice begins with something incredibly simple. Throughout the day, pause for a few moments. Do nothing except notice your breathing. Do not try to force it. Simply observe it. Is it fast or slow? Deep or shallow? Calm or hurried? This small act of awareness interrupts the endless stream of unconscious thinking and brings you back to the present moment. Many people underestimate simple practices because they believe powerful change must come from complicated methods. Yet the strongest trees begin as tiny seeds. The mightiest rivers begin as small streams. Great transformation often starts with ordinary actions repeated consistently. One mindful breath may seem insignificant, but hundreds of mindful breaths each day gradually reshape the way you experience life. There will be moments when life tests you. Someone will insult you, unexpected news will arrive, plans will fall apart, fear will appear without warning. During those moments, your first instinct may be to react immediately. But before speaking, before defending yourself, before making a decision, return to your breath. Take one slow inhale, then another, and another. Those few seconds may become the most valuable seconds of your day. Within them, you create space between the event and your response. In that space, wisdom has a chance to appear. Instead of reacting from anger, you respond with clarity. Instead of allowing fear to make your decisions, you allow awareness to guide them. Calmness is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to remain present while emotions move through you. Your breath reminds you that emotions are temporary. Every inhale begins, every exhale ends. Nothing remains exactly as it is. Joy comes and goes. Sadness comes and goes. Fear comes and goes. Even overwhelming moments eventually pass. The breath teaches you the rhythm of life itself. Receive, release, receive, release. When your breathing becomes steady, your perception also changes. Problems that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Conversations become less reactive. Decisions become clearer. You begin to notice opportunities where you once saw only obstacles. The external world may remain exactly the same, but your experience of it changes because your inner state has changed. There is a quiet strength in a person who knows how to breathe consciously. They do not rush to prove themselves. They do not panic when difficulties arise. They understand that the first victory is always won within. Their calm presence influences everyone around them because peace is contagious in the same way panic is. Do not wait until life becomes chaotic before learning this practice. Train yourself during peaceful moments. Let conscious breathing become as natural as walking. Spend a few minutes each morning sitting quietly with your breath. Return to it during moments of stress. End your day by slowing your breathing before sleep. These simple habits become the foundation of extraordinary inner stability. The greatest victories in life are not always visible to others. Sometimes the greatest victory is remaining calm when you once would have exploded with anger. Sometimes it is choosing peace when fear demands control. Sometimes it is taking one slow breath instead of one impulsive action. Master your breath, and you begin to master your attention. Master your attention, and you begin to master your emotions. Master your emotions, and you begin to master your decisions. And because your decisions shape your destiny, every calm breath you take today quietly builds the life you will live tomorrow. One of the greatest differences between a peaceful person and a restless person is not intelligence, talent, or experience. It is the space between what happens and how they respond. Most people move through life on autopilot. Something unpleasant happens and they react instantly. Someone criticizes them and they immediately defend themselves. A driver cuts them off in traffic and anger takes over. An unexpected problem appears at work and panic fills their mind. They believe their reactions are caused by the world around them, but in reality they have simply allowed external events to control their inner world. Every reaction is automatic. Every response is intentional. A reaction comes from habit, emotion, and impulse. A response comes from awareness, patience, and wisdom. The difference may only be a few seconds, but those few seconds can completely change the direction of your life. Imagine throwing a stone into a still lake. The water ripples immediately because it has no choice. That is how an untrained mind behaves. Every opinion, every insult, every inconvenience creates another ripple. The person spends the entire day being pushed and pulled by circumstances they cannot control. They are happy when others praise them and miserable when others criticize them. Their peace depends entirely on what happens outside of them. Now imagine a mountain. Storms come and go. Winds strike its surface, rain falls, snow covers it, yet the mountain remains where it is. It does not chase the storm, and it does not fight the wind. It simply stands with quiet strength. This is what it means to respond rather than react. It is not about becoming cold or emotionless. It is about developing an inner stability that cannot be shaken by every passing event. The greatest battles are often won before a single word is spoken. Consider how many arguments have become destructive because someone reacted too quickly. A harsh sentence spoken in anger can damage a relationship that took years to build. A decision made in fear can create consequences that last for months. An impulsive action can never be taken back, no matter how sincere the apology. One uncontrolled moment often creates a lifetime of regret. This is why learning to pause is one of the most powerful disciplines you can develop. The pause may only last a single breath, but within that breath lies your freedom. It is the moment where you stop being a prisoner of your emotions and become the master of your choices. When someone insults you, your first impulse may be to prove them wrong. Your ego wants to fight. It wants to defend itself. But ask yourself, what is gained by reacting immediately? Does shouting create understanding? Does anger create wisdom? Does revenge create peace? Most of the time, reacting only adds more suffering to a situation that was already painful. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness. In reality, silence requires tremendous strength. It is easy to raise your voice. It is far more difficult to remain calm when every emotion inside you demands expression. Anyone can lose control. Very few can keep it. The strongest person in the room is rarely the loudest. More often, it is the one who remains composed while everyone else is overwhelmed. Notice how fire behaves. If you continue feeding it wood, it grows larger and more destructive. But if you stop adding fuel, the flames eventually die. Arguments work the same way. Every angry response adds another piece of wood to the fire. Every calm response removes fuel from the conflict. You cannot always control another person's behavior, but you can decide whether you will contribute to the flames or become the one who brings peace. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Some will criticize your decisions. Others may judge your character without knowing your story. If you react to every opinion, you will spend your life trying to satisfy people who can never truly be satisfied. Your peace will always depend on someone else's approval. Instead, ask yourself a different question. Does this situation deserve my energy? Not every invitation to argue deserves acceptance. Not every criticism requires a defense. Not every disagreement must become a battle. Wisdom often means knowing what to leave untouched. Responding also means seeing beyond the surface. A person who speaks harshly may be carrying pain you cannot see. Someone who acts impatiently may be fighting a private battle. This does not excuse harmful behavior, but it reminds you that people often project their inner struggles onto others. When you understand this, compassion begins to replace anger. The more aware you become, the more you realize that your emotions are visitors, not permanent residents. Anger arrives, fear arrives, frustration arrives. But if you observe them without acting immediately, they also leave. Emotions are like clouds passing through the sky. The sky itself remains unchanged. Your awareness is that sky. It is vast enough to hold every emotion without becoming controlled by any of them. This does not mean suppressing your feelings. Suppression creates pressure that eventually explodes. Instead, acknowledge what you feel without allowing it to dictate your actions. You can recognize your anger while still choosing kindness. You can feel fear while still acting with courage. You can experience disappointment while still moving forward with hope. This is true emotional mastery. Every difficult situation becomes an opportunity to practice. The impatient customer, the unfair criticism, the delayed flight, the unexpected setback, the broken plan. These are not interruptions to your training. They are your training. Without resistance, strength cannot develop. Without challenges, patience cannot grow. Every obstacle is another chance to strengthen your ability to respond with clarity instead of reacting with impulse. As you continue this practice, something remarkable begins to happen. Situations that once controlled your emotions begin to lose their power. The same words that once offended you no longer disturb your peace. The same challenges that once filled you with anxiety become opportunities to demonstrate your growth. Others may notice that you have changed, but the greatest transformation will be the quiet confidence you feel within yourself. A calm response does not always change the behavior of others, but it always changes you. It protects your peace. It preserves your clarity. It keeps your heart free from unnecessary bitterness. Over time, people will not remember how many arguments you won. They will remember the strength of your character, the steadiness of your presence, and the peace you carried into every room. Life will continue to present challenges. People will continue to disappoint you. Circumstances will remain unpredictable. But no matter what happens around you, you always have one choice that no one can take away. The choice to pause, to breathe, and to respond with wisdom instead of reacting through impulse. That single choice is the beginning of true inner freedom. One of the greatest causes of suffering is the desire to control things that were never ours to control. We want people to think the way we think. We want life to unfold according to our plans. We want certainty about tomorrow, guarantees about the future, and reassurance that nothing painful will ever happen. When reality refuses to obey our expectations, frustration, anxiety, and disappointment begin to grow. We fight against what already exists, and in doing so, we create a battle that can never truly be won. Look closely at nature. The sun rises without asking for permission. The seasons change without seeking anyone's approval. The wind blows where it will, and the rain falls when it must. No matter how strongly you wish for winter to become summer overnight, the seasons continue in their own time. Life follows the same principle. There are forces far greater than our personal desires. Wisdom begins when we stop demanding that reality conform to our expectations and instead learn how to move with it. Acceptance is often misunderstood. Many people believe accepting something means giving up, becoming passive, or allowing injustice to continue. But true acceptance is not surrendering your strength. It is surrendering your resistance to what already exists. There is a profound difference between accepting reality and approving of it. You can accept that a storm has arrived without liking the rain. You can accept that a chapter has ended without pretending it never mattered. Acceptance simply means seeing life clearly instead of wasting energy denying what is already true. Imagine holding a heavy stone in your hands. At first, it may not seem difficult, but after several minutes, your arms begin to ache. After an hour, the weight becomes unbearable. The stone itself has not become heavier. The pain comes from your refusal to put it down. Many people carry emotional stones in exactly the same way. They hold on to resentment, regret, guilt, disappointment, and fear long after the event has passed. Year after year, they wonder why life feels exhausting, never realizing that much of their suffering comes from what they refuse to release. There are countless things beyond your control. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control how quickly time passes. You cannot control another person's thoughts, feelings, or choices. You cannot rewrite yesterday, no matter how deeply you wish you could. Yet many people spend their lives trying to manage these impossible tasks. They become frustrated because reality refuses to cooperate with their expectations. Ask yourself a simple question whenever stress begins to overwhelm you. Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, then take action with courage and responsibility. If the answer is no, then your task is not to fight reality but to adjust your attitude toward it. This single question has the power to free you from countless unnecessary worries. Think about how much energy is wasted replaying the past. People revisit old conversations, wishing they had spoken differently. They replay mistakes, imagining perfect outcomes that no longer exist. But the past is like an arrow that has already left the bow. No amount of regret can call it back. The only place where change is possible is this present moment. Every minute spent arguing with yesterday is a minute stolen from today. The same is true of the future. The mind constantly seeks certainty. It wants to know exactly what will happen next month, next year, or 10 years from now. But life has never promised certainty. It has only promised possibility. When you become obsessed with controlling the future, you sacrifice the peace available in the present. You begin living in imaginary tomorrows instead of experiencing the life unfolding before you. Acceptance does not eliminate pain, but it prevents pain from becoming unnecessary suffering. Imagine standing in the middle of a river. If you constantly struggle against the current, you quickly become exhausted. The harder you fight, the weaker you become. But if you learn to move with the flow while guiding yourself wisely, you conserve your strength and travel much farther. Acceptance is learning when to swim instead of endlessly fighting the current. There will always be unexpected changes. People you love may leave, opportunities may disappear, plans may fail, health may change, success may arrive later than expected. None of these experiences are easy. Yet resisting reality does not remove the pain. It only adds another layer of emotional struggle. Peace begins when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and instead ask, "How can I meet this moment with wisdom?" Notice how resilient a tree becomes during a storm. The branches bend with the wind instead of resisting every gust. If the tree were completely rigid, it would eventually snap. Its flexibility is what allows it to survive. Human beings often believe strength means refusing to bend. In truth, some of the greatest strength comes from knowing when to adapt. Flexibility is not weakness, it is intelligent resilience. Acceptance also transforms relationships. Much of our disappointment comes from expecting others to become the people we want them to be. We try to change their personality, their habits, or their decisions. We become frustrated when they fail to meet our expectations, but every person has their own journey, their own struggles, and their own lessons to learn. You cannot force growth upon another person. You can only choose how you respond to them. The more you release the need to control others, the lighter your heart becomes. You stop carrying responsibilities that were never yours. You begin respecting the freedom of others while protecting your own inner peace. You realize that your happiness cannot depend on someone else's behavior. Acceptance is not something you practice once. It is a daily discipline. Every day presents opportunities to release what cannot be changed. Every inconvenience becomes an invitation to choose peace instead of resistance. Every unexpected event becomes a reminder that life is always moving, always changing, always inviting you to grow. When you stop fighting reality, you gain the energy to improve the parts of life that truly are within your control. Your thoughts become clearer. Your actions become more intentional. Your heart becomes lighter because it is no longer burdened by impossible expectations. You discover that peace is not found by controlling every circumstance. Peace is found by controlling your response to every circumstance. There is immense freedom in recognizing the limits of your control. You no longer feel responsible for everything that happens around you. You focus your attention where it truly belongs, on your character, your choices, your effort, and your attitude. These are the areas where real transformation begins. Life will never be completely predictable. There will always be uncertainty, change, and moments that test your patience. But when you accept what you cannot control, you stop wasting your strength on unwinnable battles. Instead, you become like the deep ocean beneath the waves. The surface may be stirred by storms, but beneath it all, there remains a quiet stillness that nothing can disturb. That stillness is the peace that comes from acceptance, and once you discover it, no circumstance can easily take it away. Life does not send invitations before it tests you. It does not announce the day when everything will become difficult. Challenges arrive without warning. One phone call can change your entire week. One unexpected loss can change your entire year. One moment of uncertainty can shake everything you thought was secure. Because of this, the question is never whether storms will come. The only question is whether you will be prepared when they arrive. Most people wait until life becomes difficult before they decide to strengthen themselves. They begin searching for peace only after anxiety is taken over. They begin learning patience only after anger has damaged their relationships. They seek discipline only after years of distraction have stolen their potential. But this is like trying to build a shelter after the rain has already begun. Preparation must always come before the challenge. Look at the tallest tree in a forest. It does not become strong during the storm. Its strength was built long before the wind arrived. Every season, every drop of rain, every gust of wind, and every year of steady growth strengthened its roots. When the storm finally comes, the tree simply reveals the strength that has been developing all along. Your mind works in exactly the same way. Difficult moments do not create your character, they reveal it. When pressure increases, you do not suddenly become a different person. You fall back on the habits you have practiced every day. If you have trained your mind to remain present, you will return to presence. If you have trained your mind to panic, you will return to panic. The storm only exposes what daily practice has already built. This is why ordinary days are far more important than extraordinary ones. Everyone wants to become mentally strong during life's biggest moments, but few are willing to do the quiet work required on ordinary mornings. Real transformation is not dramatic. It happens in silence. It happens when no one is watching. It happens through small actions, repeated over and over, until they become part of who you are. Every morning offers you a choice. You can wake up and immediately allow the world to control your attention, or you can spend a few moments training your own mind first, before reaching for your phone, before reading messages, before worrying about responsibilities. Simply sit in stillness. Breathe deeply. Observe your thoughts without chasing them. Remind yourself that peace begins within, not outside of you. Those few quiet minutes may seem insignificant, but they are laying the foundation for everything that follows. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment. In reality, discipline is an act of self-respect. It is choosing what strengthens you over what merely entertains you. It is saying yes to your future even when your present comfort says no. Every disciplined action teaches the mind that it is capable of doing what is necessary, not just what is easy. Think about someone learning to lift weights. They do not become stronger by lifting the heaviest weight on the first day. They begin with manageable resistance and increase gradually over time. The muscles adapt through repetition. Mental strength follows the same principle. You strengthen your patience by dealing calmly with small frustrations. You strengthen your focus by resisting small distractions. You strengthen your courage by facing small fears. Day after day, these seemingly minor victories accumulate until they become extraordinary resilience. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because the results are invisible at first. You meditate for one day and nothing seems different. You practice mindful breathing for a week and still experience stress. You remain patient during difficult conversations, yet life continues to test you. It becomes tempting to believe that nothing is changing, but growth rarely announces itself. It happens beneath the surface, just as roots grow silently beneath the ground. One day you suddenly realize that something which once made you anxious no longer affects you. The criticism that once ruined your entire day now passes without disturbing your peace. The setback that once caused panic now becomes simply another problem to solve. The change appears sudden, but it is actually the result of countless quiet moments of practice. Do not train only when you feel motivated. Motivation is like the weather. It changes constantly. Some days you will feel inspired. Other days you will feel tired, discouraged, or distracted. If your practice depends on your emotions, it will never become consistent. True discipline means showing up, even when you do not feel like it. Those are often the days that strengthen you the most. Every challenge you face during the day becomes another opportunity to train. The long line at the grocery store becomes patience practice. The rude comment becomes compassion practice. The unexpected delay becomes flexibility practice. The difficult coworker becomes emotional control practice. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" begin asking, "What is this situation teaching me?" Suddenly, every obstacle becomes part of your training instead of an interruption to it. There is a quiet confidence that develops through daily practice. It is different from arrogance because it does not need to prove itself. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you have trained your mind to remain steady. You trust yourself because you have repeatedly kept the promises you made to yourself. This confidence cannot be given by praise, and it cannot be taken away by criticism. It is built from within. Imagine a lighthouse standing on a rocky coastline. Day after day, waves crash against it, storms surround it, powerful winds strike it from every direction. Yet the lighthouse remains exactly where it was built. It does not argue with the storm. It does not fear the waves. Its purpose is simply to stand firm and continue shining. Your daily practice turns you into that lighthouse. The world around you may become chaotic. People may panic. Circumstances may change unexpectedly. But because you have trained your mind consistently, you remain grounded. You become a source of stability, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. Remember that greatness is never built in a single moment. It is built through thousands of ordinary choices. Every time you choose awareness over distraction, patience over anger, courage over fear, and discipline over comfort, you are shaping the person you are becoming. These choices may seem small today, but they are creating an unshakable foundation for tomorrow. One day, a storm will arrive that would have once overwhelmed you. The pressure will be real. The uncertainty will be undeniable. Yet something within you will remain calm, not because life has become easier, but because you have become stronger. You will breathe instead of panic. You will think instead of react. You will move with wisdom instead of fear. And in that moment, As we come to the end of this journey, remember that true strength is not measured by how much you can endure, how loudly you can speak, or how quickly you can react. True strength is measured by the peace you can maintain when life invites you to lose it. Anyone can remain calm when everything is going well. The real test of your character begins when life becomes uncertain, when plans fall apart, when people disappoint you, and when the future is unclear. Those moments do not define you. They reveal the quality of the mind you have been training every single day. Never forget that calmness is not something you wait to feel. It is something you choose to practice. Every conscious breath, every moment of patience, every decision to pause instead of react, every act of acceptance, and every day of quiet discipline is shaping a stronger version of yourself. These small choices may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they become the foundation of an unshakable life. There will still be storms. There will still be setbacks, criticism, loss, uncertainty, and change. No philosophy, no practice, and no amount of wisdom can remove every challenge from your path. But your goal is not to create a life without storms. Your goal is to become someone who remains steady within them. A calm mind does not stop the rain. It teaches you how to walk through it without losing yourself. Stop fighting every thought that enters your mind. Observe it. Let it pass. Stop trying to control every circumstance that life presents. Focus instead on mastering your response. Return to your breath whenever fear appears. Return to awareness whenever your emotions become overwhelming. Return to the present whenever your mind wanders into regret or anxiety. Again and again, come back to this moment, because this moment is the only place where peace can truly exist. Do not expect transformation overnight. Mountains are not carved by a single drop of water, but by countless drops falling consistently over time. In the same way, your character is shaped by the habits you repeat every day. Trust the process. Stay patient with yourself. Even on the days when progress feels invisible, something within you is growing stronger. Every moment of discipline is deepening your roots. One day you will face a challenge that once would have broken you. You will notice that your breathing remains steady. Your thoughts remain clear. Your heart remains peaceful. You will realize that while the world around you has not changed, you have. The anger that once controlled you no longer has power. The fear that once ruled your decisions has become a quiet whisper. The chaos that once shook your spirit can no longer steal your inner balance. That is the reward of training the mind. Not perfection, but freedom. Freedom from unnecessary suffering. Freedom from impulsive reactions. Freedom from living as a prisoner of fear, anger, or anxiety. You begin to understand that real peace has never depended on the world becoming quieter. It has always depended on your mind becoming still. So from this day forward, make your inner world your greatest priority. Guard your thoughts, protect your peace, practice stillness, breathe with awareness, accept what you cannot control, respond with wisdom instead of impulse, and continue your training every single day, because the person who masters the mind discovers a strength that no storm can destroy and a peace that no circumstance can take away. The greatest victory you will ever achieve is not over another person. It is not over wealth, status, or success. The greatest victory is over your own restless mind. Win that battle, and no matter where life takes you, you will always carry within you something that the world can never give, and the world can never take away: a calm, disciplined, and peaceful mind.